if we start early 2 days in a row. 7 a.m. Wow. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talking Niagara with me, Peter Giblett, and him, Dave Wheeler. Morning, Dave. How you doing?
Good morning. Pretty good. I had a pretty busy day yesterday, I tell you. I had to go to a couple different meetings for Kiwanis yesterday. One was the housing one.
Okay.
And it was getting pretty complicated in there. You know?
Why?
It's getting pretty complicated because one of our buildings is actually, after many, many years, going to be mortgage free.
Oh.
And of course, ours is rent geared to income type of housing. So we still have to be. It's to our advantage to be connected with the government, of course, because we're going to have to find people and how we're going to run it. It's a not-for-profit kind of thing, but you still got to make some kind of profit so you can reinvest into the place.
Well, it might not be for profit per se, but you still got to make enough that you can, if you decide to do new housing or build other projects, you can do that, right?
Yeah, we still have to have support.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the tenants need support and so on.
Well,
so
it costs.
Very.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Despite profit or not, it costs money to run a housing project, right? A housing complex.
Sure, it's the same as everything else. You still have to have money, but we're still going to have to have help from certain agencies because, of course, we can't make the amount of money you need to run a building because our rents are so low. Even we have rent to some of the rents, the so-called ordinary rents are even those are only 80%. So you're looking at
even your market rents are often way lower than normal rent. Yes. Yeah,
they're like, even for people who can afford it, they're only 80%. But then the other ones, like for instance, are quite a bit less expensive, and the water and hydro is included. All of these things are a problem. And I'll tell you too that there's a couple of revelations there that I knew. Like you get people fooling the system or tricking the system. They'll come to Niagara Regional Housing and say, well, their old man's beating them up and they're in danger and they need to get into a place and they can't afford it. As soon as we get them in, they bring their old man with them.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason to get in. But that's how they trick the system.
Yeah. The trouble is you can't actually stop that, can you?
It's not, it's impossible to stop. Another thing that we found very difficult to deal with was, well, not difficult, but amazing, that the government has decided that we are responsible for drug dealers in our building, which makes it impossible, it makes it foolish too, because now our property managers are on the hook for trying to identify drug dealers. And when they do identify them, or when they do point them out, the police are slow in coming. Then the police said that we can't do anything unless you set up a surveillance of a complete 24 hours. And to tell you the truth, we don't want to bust the local dealer. We want his supplier. So tell us when somebody shows up with a big backpack and all this. And this is supposed to be on us. You know what I mean?
How can you watch? How can you monitor that? Because how many of you, okay, so you have a super in the building, but the super's there to maintain the building and things like that, right? Look after the building.
Yes, and the super can identify who he thinks it might be the drug dealers, and sometimes it's pretty obvious. But when you tell the cops, they're not that really interested in it.
Yeah.
And yet then the government says, well, we're responsible for that. If we can't prove it, and if the police won't cooperate with us, well, they will, but you'd have to hand them all the evidence they need. Then
you have to hand them a big portfolio.
Yeah, because it's so pervasive. Why would they spend a lot of money on us?
Yeah.
And then you get the typical thing where we're gonna do this. We're gonna need your help on, and we can set up days like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, and the cop, or a month from now, and the cops say, no, we don't like those dates. Can you get us other ones? So it's I'm not trying to put down the cops in any way. It's just that the system doesn't work very well. If you want to chase down drug dealers and drug distribution, you're gonna have to do it a different way. It's too long and ponderous. And so when the Ontario government says it's up to you, I don't know who they're trying to target. When the Ontario government says that, they might be targeting people who have a place in their own house and an apartment upstairs, and they know the guy's a drug dealer, and they're just fine with that because they get huge rents or something. I don't know what they're trying to pull there, but to dump it on us is like, that's going to happen. Even if you threaten us, so our conclusion was to notify if we have suspected drug dealers in our buildings. We are to notify the cops and make sure that we've done our due diligence. And whenever anyone comes along and says, well, you're responsible for that, well, we tried, and we really didn't get much response from the police. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. And basically, Mike makes a point. I should tell the companies that employ people at minimum wage should be responsible for the cost of gear to income housing. But you see, there are plenty of people who earn minimum wage that are outside of gear to income housing, Mike.
Yeah, there are. And geared to income housing is like, I think there's like 23,000 people on the list or something like that that need geared to income housing. And another problem we found was the resistance we have now. We had 3 people in there speaking to us, 3 specialists, as we are now trying to convert one building from a mortgage to non-mortgage situation, and that would give us more money. We have finally got, or it's almost complete, a charitable status, so that we can have not the club but the housing buildings. So that's something we didn't do early on for some reason, and then we had to sort of backtrack to do that. And now we do have that charitable status, which means we will get kickbacks in money, which means what do we do with that money? And of course, our first idea was, how do we now reinvest in more geared to income housing? How can we do that? The problem here is that we could buy an apartment building and convert it to that, but the people we were talking to say no, they don't want us to do that. They want new stuff out there because they feel
new is the answer, really.
What?
New is the answer, I think.
Yeah, but that's hard. And when we did, you have to have a piece of land available. You have to
convert something like you did with the school, right?
Well, that's what was suggested, and they're saying no, we want new, but that takes some time. We were discussing the availability of city land. As we spoke of on this show, city has a lot of extra land that it doesn't know what to do with. And with that, so these are all things that are going around in our head. How do we then provide? Now, there's someone suggested that we have an apartment. There's an apartment building for sale. We could buy it and then convert it. But the problem there is, once you begin to convert it to rent to geared to income, then it reduces the amount of stock available for those who could afford it.
Yeah.
Which
And
puts the prices up for
the
them
thing
because
is,
there are less housing units available for ordinary everyday folk, you know?
yeah. And then you would have to, you see, for a couple of things that you can't do as an organization owning a property, you can't you can apply for renovation eviction through renovation,
We're
right?
not going to do that. We'll never do that.
Yeah.
Ever do that.
Or you won't get the people out because it'd be difficult unless natural attrition with people moving out, but the people who've already been renting there for years will often stay.
Well, the whole idea was to gradually convert it. So
Yeah.
when somebody moves out, then you redo their unit and then
Make
bring it
an
up to standard.
RGI unit. Yeah.
Yeah, and then make it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's one possibility, but again, I don't know. There's options there, right? There are options, that's for sure. If you took over an existing building, it would have to be the right building, though.
it's all hypothetical right now.
Yeah.
We have to it's very interesting the way it works, but oh man, my head hurt. It was a 3-hour meeting. Whoa.
You mean with lots and lots of facts that you can't even digest in that 3-hour meeting?
Well, yeah. And then later, well, we had our that part of it was 2 hours, and then our regular meeting was 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then later in the at 7 o'clock. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Hi, Seth. I'm doing my show. What's up?
All right. Well, there we go. He heads off into the clouds. Well,
all right. I'll call you later. Bye.
I'm sure we'll get back to it right now.
Here I am.
Another part of that important meeting from yesterday, eh?
No, that was a family matter. So because it was a family member, I took the call in case it was an emergency. I very rarely get calls this early in the morning.
I know it's very rare, unless it was something.
I'm very unpopular, so nobody calls me. So when I get a call, I answer it.
Yeah. Okay. It's an interesting one that we didn't cover yesterday. Today, at the West Lincoln, West Niagara Agricultural Centre and Fairgrounds in Grassie, there is the 106th International Plowing Match and Rural Expo, which runs between now and Saturday.
Yeah, it's not been here for 99 years.
Yeah.
There's been plowing matches. Now, the one I remember was the one down around Selkirk area many years ago, and it was the federal politicians ended up there. There was I know because I was going down the Talbot Trail Road there, which is the Dunnville Dover Road, basically, which sort of basically parallel to Highway 3. But it was so a bunch of politicians came there, Preston Manning, Chrétien, and whoever else was there at the time. They jumped on tractors and did a sort of a thing. I guess Chrétien loved it. He had a great time there. But I remember that because there was clots of mud on the road for days and days afterwards. But
Chrétien is a rural person, isn't he?
I'm not so sure. He comes from a family of 18, so I don't know. He had his own village.
Yeah.
but this is very good here, and so finally we get it back here. We get it into West Lincoln, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Unless it's already happened, because
it's today. It starts today and goes on. In fact, the clock on the thing says the event starts in 1 hour and 14 minutes. There we go. 1 hour 14 minutes from now.
Yeah, it's sort of to
So
Open
Expo,
yeah. So the International Plowing was last held in Niagara in 1926,
yeah,
when Niagara Falls and Welland shared the hosting duties. Wow, that's something.
yeah,
Anyway, it's a means by which people can go and see what farming is all about. There's award winning. They'll put a bunch of uh, politicians in a tractor to see how straight a line they can plow. It's not easy, and
no,
I'm trying to find something here. Anyway, go ahead and keep talking,
yeah,
and I'll get what I'm looking for here.
yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, Mayor Cheryl Gannon, the mayor Cheryl Gannon of West Lincoln. West Lincoln has this Kiwanis Club, and Cheryl Gannon is on that Kiwanis Club. And sometimes when she's the mayor of West Lincoln, and sometimes when I'm calling, her and her husband are on doing phone duties at bingo when I'm calling in the studio.
mm,
So
yeah,
she is quoted here saying it's a really big deal for the township. The ability to put a focus on 5 days on agriculture and the importance of the work our farmers do, and also how much agriculture drives not only West Lincoln's economy, but also Niagara economy and Ontario's economy. It's a major player when you're looking at the dollar value.
yeah,
So to focus on agriculture and the fact that we are a small rural community hosting the International Plowing match for us is really wonderful, said Gannon, adding the event will also boost agritourism in West Niagara. That's what I was looking for, the agritourism. So that's a thing now, agritourism. Now you think of people going around from winery to winery as part of agritourism, but there might be a little bit more than that.
well, I think that's a special class of agritourism, but yeah, that's not typical agritourism.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. But what they're basically saying is ploughing competitions, watch skilled competitors showcase traditional and modern ploughing techniques, rural expo, so exhibits featuring farming equipment, local food vendors, crafts and apparels, family fun with activities for all ages. And that's a lot of the reason for holding these shows. It's a family fun for all ages. They want to get the youngsters involved. And a celebration of rural life, agriculture, and the people who make it thrive.
Now, undercurrent here was mentions that they were talking about their sons. The farmers are talking about their sons, and the sons and daughters are leaving the farm life and going to work other places. That's kind of a little bit of a tragedy here. Well, not a tragedy, but it's an unfortunate turn of where things going. Before, family farms went on to another family farm, to another family member, and we could be assured of the production of food because you had skilled farmers all the way down the line. They were born to it. They lived it. They grew the stuff.
Father to son.
They raised their livestock. They had the orchards. And now people that, well, it's too hard a life.
Yeah.
Too uncertain a life. Why don't I just work in a factory or in the city?
Yeah.
You know? So that is, that's mentioned here when they were talking about that. But the very idea that we have to be very aware of our agribusiness here in Niagara, we've mentioned that many times here on the show and how important it is to our local economy. But that shift towards a very hard life that is leaving, that the traditional farmers are leaving, and bigger farms, big operations are taking over. I talked to a couple of farmers. I remember stopping at one farm because the guy I was driving with was looking for a kitten to replace his cat that had died. And so we stopped in a farm to look at the kittens that were at that farm. And so I talked to the guy about his farm. He had 100 acres. He talked about at one time even having a hired man. And he says he just can't compete with the big operations. So people are buying up lands, and the farms are 3,000-4,000 acres, whereas the 100 and 200 acre farmer finds it very, very hard to compete. It's work from sun up to sun down, and during the wintertime, you got to fix your equipment, do other stuff, and it's not an easy life. It's a commitment.
If you've got 100 acres, if you've got a farm that's 100 acres or less, you've got to be typically having a high value crop, let's say like a vineyard on it.
Well, even 100-acre vineyard's not really valuable enough.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. No, not for high volume. Not for high volume.
Marijuana.
Well, no, not for a high volume vineyard, no, but for a boutique winery, it could be.
Possibly, but yeah, you're getting into niches there, and there is a place for them, little niche farms or whatever. But the real fact of the matter is that farming is a tough business. We need the food. We need farmers to be here still, and it's just a kind of a lifestyle that why would you go into it with that sort of commitment that you needed when you could just go to a factory, get your pay, get your benefits, go home at night, and not have to worry that the cow's sick or there's too much rain or not enough rain, or you got to get up in the middle of the night.
Well, there's some farmers that actually do that, work in a factory as well as keep their farm.
Oh, I've met lots of them down in Nanticoke way. They had farms and they worked in the steel mills or the refinery or the power plant.
Yeah,
it's just
I knew a few as well. Yeah. I used to live in Grassie, actually, by the way, just down the road from this, where this is.
Is that what they're plowing over? Peter's old estate?
No, it's there's fairgrounds there. I presume that's what they're doing the competitions on the fairground. Anyway, yeah, interesting. So if you're interested in it, do it. That's for sure. All right.
Yeah, it's just a reminder how important agribusiness is into the area. And that might be very interesting for you to go to see the plowing matches. There will be politicians, I think, there. They might get Doug Ford on a tractor and see how straight that he can plow a line. That's going to be pretty hard for a politician to do something straight.
Yeah. True.
They're naturally veering this way and that way, So,
all right. So
that might have been the original politician way back in history when everybody was a farmer, and you got a guy that couldn't plow a straight line. So we'll make him a politician because he's less useful.
To Parliament, get rid of him. Yeah. Send him to Parliament. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Jim Diodati is saying that University of Niagara Falls, Canada, is not a diploma mill.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Now, I will tend to agree. We've reported on this show a couple times when we talked about the University of Niagara Falls and what kind of programs it had, and we did mention the fact that it had a direct connection to medical schools in the Caribbean. Now, when you think of that, when you first think about it, you think, oh, schools in the Caribbean, all medical, blah blah blah. You think, well, that doesn't sound too good to me. Are they getting properly educated? But apparently, we have at least one person from that program here in Niagara Falls, a doctor that came through that program. We don't have enough doctors. And when I've talked to some of the students, every year I try to drum up donations for the Staples School Supply Drive, which is in connection with the local Kiwanis clubs.
Yeah.
So we can get money for school supplies for local schools that have trouble meeting their demands. And what we find is I talk to a lot of the people, the young people in Staples, and a lot of them are students. and some of them were students at the University of Niagara Falls. So I had a little bit more of respect for the school after talking with them and what they did there and where they came from and what was their education before they came to the University of Niagara Falls. So I could pretty much say that it's not a diploma mill, which was one of the big fears. Was just another. Okay.
I'm still not certain it's the right thing for our community, though, because it doesn't.
I'm not so sure.
It doesn't keep its graduates in our community. The more likelihood is that the graduates from this will move away.
Well, yeah, some will stay, but some won't go. But this is a university geared for mostly international students, so that's what made it suspect in the first place. Is this just a door open to get into Canada? But if this university is sieving out those people with the most talent to come here, that's what we want anyway.
Yeah.
So it's geared to foreign students. The ones I were talking to, of course, you get people from. I talked to a person that was from Bangladesh, another person that was from Colombia, a couple of people from Colombia. And what they have is education that that's better used up here, basically. So they come up here to complete their education, and they work at stores like Staples to help them get through.
Yeah,
and a lot of their stuff is high tech stuff, masters and more postgraduate work and things like that. So although I don't have a complete understanding of what they're doing, I'm pretty well convinced that it's not just a diploma mill. Well, but it is and it may have some real positive effects if it does draw talent from other countries into our country. That's what we need.
Yeah, but it's a postgraduate level education, it could never be accused of being a diploma mill anyway. Right. Typically, diploma mills are where a diploma mill is those colleges that punching out people where they're not even undergraduate level, where they're sub, lower level values of education,
or having huge departments of hospitality.
Yeah,
but one of the things that in the Niagara region, you want for people to stay here, you want to educate them, and a certain percentage of them would take hospitality to be able to work in the hotel and tourist business. But the problem is, we get way more than we'd ever need.
Yeah.
And I talked to a bunch of foreign students that went for hospitality degrees, and I'm thinking to myself, where the hell are they all going to go?
Yeah, and when we were young, they used to laugh at the fact that, like, for example, students who went on sociology degrees, it was a meaningless degree, was what they used to say. I'm not saying I hold that opinion, but again, today hospitality is that same type of degree, isn't it? Where's it going to lead to? There's only so many jobs in hospitality, and you don't need a good degree to be a bellhop at a local hotel, do you? Or maid.
The job market's getting tight when you need a college degree to be a bellhop.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's ridiculous about this. And you won't end up. A lot of the time, these hospitality degrees lead nowhere.
Yeah, that kind of thing, but that's not what's at play here at Niagara Falls University.
No.
And although the suspicion was that it is a school that attracts international students, but they claim, and they're making a case, that they're not that type of university that just is a diploma mill that they can get foreign students in to pay big money to get here. And the real reason why most of the people come here is so they can stay here, that kind of thing. They're making the case that the people they are attracting here are the ones they want to keep here, the ones that will fill niches in the job market that are required. So we need immigration, of course. We've always needed it, and they're claiming that the people they're bringing in will likely stay and fill up good jobs in Canada, and not replace and not compete with the people that are already here, because there is a need in the marketplace, just like there's a need for medical people, there's a need for computer people, everything. So that it's kind of interesting. We'll see. It seems not. We got like 3,300 people coming, I guess, this year. Some of that's online stuff, as reported before, but there's also that mentioned that more and more domestic students are attracted to it. So 10% of the student body will be from Canada.
Yeah, it's problematic. I think the one issue about the University of Niagara Falls was always the issue about most of the students coming from foreign lands. Now, it's not to say there's anything wrong with that. It's just the most of the students, right? You would expect there to be, always a majority of students being from Canada.
Well, not in this particular case. The whole idea of it was to attract. It's a global university system. Let's make it that clear.
Well, it's a global university. A company who owns it is a global university company, right?
Yes, and that's what they. Their whole thing is an international. Through, and of course, Canada being a prosperous nation, of course, would be very attractive. So Mayor Diodati in this article is defending the university, says that they took a long time to determine whether or not this was a good fit for the town. And of course, we had some real growing pains because the university students didn't have places to stay. They had they're in the Hatch building. There was a whole lot of stress and pressure on places like Salvation Army, Project Share, where students were going there and taking advantage of even the soup kitchen and things like that. We're not so sure that they were entirely from the University of Niagara Falls.
Or they even qualified for that,
Yeah. Well, that typically what they would do, they would go to. Was the scenario. The student would go to school, then he'd go to work afterwards, and then go to the soup kitchen or Project Share to get the stuff he needed because it's cheaper. So it just made sense. Well, I'll go to the soup kitchen and get some grub because they'll feed me, so I don't have to buy that. I'll go to the Salvation Army, get my clothes, and if I work, I can take some money and send it home.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole idea was to save money. They didn't get it. The whole process was they didn't understand that these were for poor people, not for students. That kind of thing. It took a while.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So the global university system.
Yeah, it's turning out in the right direction. But I think there needs to be more. I think we need more Canadian students there. That's all.
That'll probably come, and so anyway, it's part of the global university system. So we still have to understand how that works. But we do find that, so it's an interconnection throughout the world. Diodati says the people are teaching it. He says these are decorated, respected, extremely intelligent people with multiple PhDs from traditional public schools, et cetera, et cetera. So, and unfortunately, he uses, oh God, this is so Niagara Falls, unfortunately. He says, Niagara Falls is the Coca-Cola of municipalities, and I never truly appreciated it until I traveled and I went to other countries in Asia and Europe. Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Champagne. Other people say champagne of cities.
Yeah.
No. The Niagara Falls mentality says, "Oh, we're the Coca-Cola city," which, in his mind, I suppose, is a compliment. To me, it really, I would use other words. Diodati said,
would be bad poor use of words. I would agree with you. I would tend to agree with you.
This is to compliment. Yeah. So he says that they're not in competition with like Brock or Niagara University. They actually are in complement to it. So he's making a strong argument here, except the Coca-Cola thing.
Yeah, I'm not.
Niagara Falls is Coca-Cola. Oh my! How about champagne? How about diamond? How about any other great comparison? What's he going to do now? Niagara Falls is the McDonald's of cities.
No.
Nah.
I would much prefer to be, not McDonald's, but something else anyway. Yeah.
You could say, yeah, well, you'd say Niagara Falls is like the Michelin 5 restaurant of the world, as an analogy.
Yeah.
Our mayor will probably say McDonald's. Other people say our city is the champagne or the fine wine. The Niagara Falls mentality says Coca-Cola. Yeah, we're classy.
Okay, moving on. Youth unemployment challenges Niagara's youth, right? Basically, youth unemployment rate is up 2%. From 2023. In July alone, it spiked 14%, the highest youth unemployment level in 15 years.
Niagara has always had a history of youth unemployment. I went through this when I was young, and I imagine many of the listeners are too. When I was young, it was like 25% unemployment among anyone that was under 30 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember struggling through those eras, and I remember anyone who had a connection in GM or their father was an electrician or something like that, they got a leg up, they got a job. But if you didn't have connections, it was real hard for you to get a job.
It's funny.
Unemployment. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that when you first come out of school, it is tough to try and get a job, which is one of the things that they have done with a lot of schools today. Is you've got youngsters who are doing these placements in their final years.
Well, you don't get enough of that. And it says here, while the summer data showed some improvements, Workforce Collective said significant issues remain as young Niagarans continue to navigate what is described as a tougher than ever labor market. Now, look, when they said like back in March when it peaked at 23.6%, that's not the real unemployment level. That's only the stuff that they know where a lot of people have stopped looking for work, are off the unemployment rolls. So the real statistics probably double that, or even, could be as much as double that, but it's going to be significantly more than that. When you see a figure of unemployment of 23.6%, that's nowhere near the real unemployment figure.
But
the unemployment figure is at least 10 points, 15 points higher than that.
But we've also had, you and I have covered stories whereby employers have been saying that youngsters won't come and won't go to work.
Yeah, but they're not talking about that here.
No, I know.
And I don't know how you can make that connection back and forth between the two. And I suppose I don't know. I can't remember those articles, but I do remember that they struggle to get kids on the job, and when they are on the job, they quit because they don't like it. So there was that thing. Oh, I don't like this job, so I'm not going to do it. Where everyone else does, I don't like this job, but I'm going to do it until I get a better one.
Yeah,
you had a lot of I don't like this job, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go back on unemployment.
Can you imagine saying to your father, Dave, hey, I don't like this job, I'm going to laze around at home for another 2 years.
Yeah, that would
Could
work.
you imagine you saying that to your father? You'd have got a clip around the ear, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I might have, or just get tossed out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so we seem to have a different sort of generation today. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do that job. Yeah, well, face reality. Nobody wants to, you know, a lot of people do jobs they don't want to do.
Now, there's great concern here because of our telephone media culture. They find that the young people have a great deal of difficulty communicating with people. They can communicate with their phones. They communicate most of the time with their phones, and they have a great deal of trouble interacting interpersonally, which I found was very interesting. That the youth market is now impeded by its the culture in which we live in, the culture of social media and telephones everywhere. We find young people are reluctant to interact with other people. They find it that very difficult to do when they're checkout counter people or whatever. They can't communicate. That's what it says here. It says here. It says it sourced local data, looked at historical trends, conducted research around provincial, blah, 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 a larger scale hiring institution. The research made it clear that youth disengagement stems from a single cause, but from a combination of overlapping factors. Does not stem from those included slowdowns in hiring activity, competitive labor market due to increased job seekers. That's another thing. More people coming into the country makes it more difficult for those people who are born here to get a job. So impacts from pandemic, skills, and difficulties around self-confidence and mental health. That's something you don't see earlier on. And the interplay between these factors, and I want to get to the point where Niagara followed a similar drop. So it takes a while to get to the point. Population growth is playing a role. 15,000 more people in the area. That made it more difficult for the young to get jobs.
Yeah.
Especially in the labor market. And I'm looking for that part alongside economic shifts. Personal barriers such as skills gaps in mental health are playing a role. While we are several years past the pandemic, that experience shook them, and now they're entering a labor market that is more challenging than has been in the past. It says that, you know, the pandemic has set this generation back, carrying mental loads. It says here, Literacy Link Niagara Executive Director Rachel Crane, who supports young adults to navigate literacy and basic skills programs, said that she can see that youth carrying heavier mental loads, anxiety, burnout, isolation. Isolation is a big one. Not only in their personal well-being, but also their engagement and success in work learning. She noticed the wider gaps in interpersonal communications. That's a big problem, likely due to the pandemic, rising smartphone usage, with students struggling to initiate conversations, resolve misunderstandings, or work through a conflict. So they don't know the basic skills.
Yeah, and one of the things they were talking about, I heard on the radio this morning, but as I got up, was they were talking about a question of kids going through the school system. Many kids who are now in grade 12 and 13 in the high school are actually those that started high school during the pandemic, and they developed this attitude that coming to school was optional, not mandatory.
Yeah, and she says here students are generally less comfortable with face-to-face dialogue.
Yeah.
A new pattern I've noticed just in a few years. In every class, a few people ask to opt out of final presentations. So they don't even want to go in front of their own class. They
Yeah.
describe a mix of social anxiety, fear of public speaking. Well, that fear of public speaking has always been there, but more so. I think the fact is that they are now have the option to hide away in the basement with their phone, and the world can come to them, and video games, and they can talk to their friends on the phone or whatever. They do not have to go out there among people. It's an uncomfortable place for young people, it seems, a lot of young people.
Yeah.
So that is a factor that we haven't had in previous generations.
Yeah. Absolutely, and we got to snap out of it. That the youth have got to snap out of it. Work is not an option; it's a mandatory thing.
It's not their fault. We're the ones that gave them the magic rectangle. The
True.
magic rectangle knows all, tells all, so they don't need anyone. They don't need to talk to anyone. They just go to the magic rectangle.
Well, and again, that's one of the reasons why I didn't give my son access to a computer until he was 12 or 13.
It's probably good, and I was trying to always police how much electronic activity my sons had. So about half of it that I knew about, I was able to restrict, but the other half, who knows?
Yeah, I know. And you see, when you consider that I was a computer geek and had computers all Karim's life, all of my son's life, right? He never had access to the computer. He couldn't just play with the computer. He had to get permission to play with the computer, and it was not always available. Right? We would supervise his use of a computer. He would have to do very certain things, right? And he never had a computer of his own until he had school projects to do.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
But there is that factor that the youth has less and less confidence. People in general, though, and we've talked about this before on the show, that there's a more and more isolation happening among people of all sorts, but the youth in this particular article suggests that they have to train themselves to be better communicators by just engaging in minor small talk with a store clerk, with somebody they're standing at a bus stop with, or just somebody on the street. Hi, how you doing? Like minor everyday conversations. You don't see that among youth. You see the older folk, they're in the store. How you doing? How's your shift going?
And the person at the bus stop, you don't have to know them in order to talk to them, because you share a common problem. Hey, I saw you were on the number 49. It was running 10 minutes late as always, right? So you've got that shared problem that starts the conversation. Whereas for younger people, that's a lot harder.
Yeah, I don't know. And modern culture sort of teaches you to be mistrustful of everyone, or if you might start to talk to somebody and they might be a white supremacist or something, and then you're stuck. You think, oh, what did I get in this conversation for? But you have to be able to train yourself to be able to deal with conversations like that. Sometimes you talk to a complete madman. Like I'm standing in front of the store at Staples every day trying to get donations, and every once in a while there's a person that comes in that's just wacky.
Yeah, it's happened, right? In fact, actually, we had a client came to us yesterday. He'd been living in this place for 3 or 4 years now, and suddenly his landlord went off the rails.
Right? Yeah. So there's in any case, Anyway, I got to get back to the article here.
Yeah.
But we find that that's a problem going forward, that youth has a difficult time adjusting to the modern things. And the statistics there are not a happy statistic.
No.
One of the things that is bothersome, of course, is that will make people angry is you get more and more people coming into the area and shutting out the youth, because you get a grown person that is 25 or 30 years old, just emigrated to Canada. They're going to hustle for that job. They're going to hustle for that job at Walmart or wherever else. They're going to go get it. They're going to get those jobs.
Well, they've also got a little bit more experience as well, don't they?
Yeah, they're a little bit more desperate, and they've got nothing to lose. Whereas the young person growing up here, he's 20 years old, needs a start. Maybe he can get a job at Walmart for the beginning, but he goes in there and he finds people yelling a lot, or customers coming to him and annoyed at what was going on, or this or that, can't handle it and leave. Some of the people I've talked to, my own age, who picked up side jobs in grocery stores and other retail areas, just part-time jobs and that, they say that they have to do double the work because they can't rely on the young people from showing up. They get the job, they show up, they don't like it. If they don't want to go there that day, they don't go there that day. They know that there's around the lower paying jobs, they always need people, so they can abuse the system that way, but not showing up when they want to, when it's time for them to show up, not doing as much work as they want to work, that kind of thing. I've had that experience in a store myself a few times when they called somebody up to check a price or something like that, and they go off and they start talking to their buddy, and they go off somewhere else, and you say, hey, you're supposed to be checking this price. Well, I'll get around to it. Yeah, well, you're just kind of engaging in social interaction here. So do they have a sense of duty? I don't think it's that is the problem, but they haven't been taught well enough.
Yeah.
When you're talking about when somebody else comes from a different country and they need a job, and even if it's a low paying job and not the one they want, they're gonna stay with that job until they get another one.
Yeah. And
they're gonna make sure that if they have to come back to that job later on, they're gonna leave the employer with a good reputation in case they need to come back to that job.
Well, in any case, you might need a reference anyway.
Yeah. I think it too is that kids are way too comfortable. The parents are successful. They got a basement where I can hang out in. I got my room. I don't have to pay rent. That's one of the things I had to do, is I had to pay board when I got to a certain age. My father insisted, well, you got to pay board if you're going to stay here.
Yeah.
Since I couldn't afford to move out, I paid board.
Yeah. Yeah. Still better than the average thing out there. But I went out and I got myself a room.
Well, you can afford it. I couldn't, so.
Well, there was a certain age when I could afford it. Yeah. But the irony here is that
I had a hell of a time. They're talking about youth unemployment.
Yeah.
I had a hell of a time between the ages of 20 and 25, 20 and 26, getting a job that paid half decent. There wasn't any. I ended up taking lower end jobs, and they didn't last. And it was a real tough time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Was a real, I remember my youth and know that it was a real tough time. First job I had out of school, was at my high school, was really, I worked on a what do you call it? A holiday camp. Right. Great experience. I learned a lot. Wasn't the best job in the world, but hey, it was partly a holiday as well.
Well, if it was a holiday camp, you had to communicate with people, and I think that's the issue they're bringing up here. If Peter Giblett of today were to go to a holiday camp, you stuck because you wouldn't have the communication abilities.
Yeah.
You would feel
Possibly.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know.
And then while I was working there for the 6 months I was working there, I found the job that I wanted and applied for it and got it. Was pretty amazed that I got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think we're probably wrapped up now. We got 5 more minutes, but there's not much more to talk about in full. You know.
Well, there was this thing that okay, so it's yet to be confirmed, but there's a local doctor here was part of a duo of people who jumped from who set a new twin skydiving record, so a tandem jump record of 42,960 feet.
Yeah, it's quite a thing. Tell us more.
Well, he's a local doctor, Dr. Singh, and you know,
is that the most popular name in the world?
One of
next to Muhammad, maybe.
Wang, actually. Wang is the most popular name in the world.
So it's, yeah, well, Muhammad is the most popular name, given name. I think just about every Muslim has Muhammad in his name almost. Yeah.
There's about 6 different versions of how to spell Muhammad.
Yeah, and it seems like somewhere in the name, even if the guy's name is Idris or Luki or Mustafa, somewhere in his name there's Muhammad. If it's not, it doesn't begin the name. It's the second name or third name. I think that's kind of like a tradition in the Islamic world. Just like Jesus is kind of a tradition in South America and that, and in Mexico. How many Jesuses are there? Which is Jesus, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, well, so it was a local doctor that went flying. You know, went skydiving. Well, interesting. Good luck to him. It was. Basically, there's a airfield in Memphis, Tennessee, where they did this, and they basically broke the world twin skydiving record. So this is where 2 people jump together.
Yeah, so it doesn't look as if this guy is a skilled parachutist, but he is willing to tandem with another guy.
Yeah.
So they jump together. So the parachutist himself is the skilled person, but you can go along for the ride. So Singh decided he's going to go, you know, way up where it's minus 60 degrees and jump with this guy. And he did it. It must have been exhilarating. 190 seconds before they deploy the parachute. So you got 190 seconds coming down to look at the curvature of the earth, to check out everything, and to kind of think, if this parachute doesn't open up, how big of a splat am I going to make? That kind of thing.
And of course, the parachute, you're jumping out at 42,000 foot. The parachute's not going to open until about 1,000 foot.
Yeah.
Until you've slowed down enough that you can actually open the parachute safely. So you're jumping, you know, 41,000 foot before you've got to shoot.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I've jumped out of a plane, and I would have to say I'm not going to volunteer for 42,000 foot.
No.
2,500 was terrifying enough.
I got a hard time jumping off of my little bench. I need a parachute to jump off my ottoman.
Well, yeah, but interesting, okay. But everybody does that kind of thing. Yeah.
Anyway, I think
yeah.
So that's really excellent. You can get thrills from very high, but people do kind of things anyways, like that will give them a similar thrill, like roller coasters. Some of those roller coasters are really high roller coasters, and they fall really fast, and that so you can get a sense of exhilaration from them. But to go up in, and it's just you and them, and they're depending on their parachute. And let's face it, like Singh was a passenger on this, and if the guy figures that his parachute's not going to be able to hold both of them up, he can disconnect Singh and push him aside. Well, Gary says, what did Gary say?
Gary's
thoughts on this wingnut, Batman? My opinion, she should handing her notice to leave it as was bad enough when she wanted to fly a Palestinian flag at our regional headquarters. I don't know what that refers to.
No, that's why I clicked it off, because I don't know what it refers to. Anyway, I think we're done for the day, sir.
Yes, sir. And I would just add for Gary that it would be completely appropriate to fly the Israeli flag as well. So yeah. Only flags allowed: Canadian, Canada flag, Ontario provincial flag, and regional flag. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. We don't fly other flags. We should be hard and fast on that rule. It leads to too many problems and too much infighting between groups.
Yeah, it's no. You can wear it on yourself as you know, like I do. I have a great deal of sympathy for
wear any flag you want.
And I'll just do that wrap up too, though. Don't forget Gaza. Now, we just got this idea about a Palestinian flag, but it was completely inappropriate to do the IDF or the Israeli flag as well, given what's gone on between those two groups of people. It's up to us, the rest of the civilized world, to kind of settle their problems, it seems to me. They can't get at it. But what's happening in Gaza now is pure murder. Thousands of children being killed and maimed. And they won't let the hostages out, because if they do let the hostages out, they'll have to stop the war. And Netanyahu is a war criminal. He is Yahya Sinwar's twin brother. Basically, they are the same person on different sides. And they're both terrorists. Yahya Sinwar's dead, but Netanyahu has to be thrown into prison, if you ask me. And without any further ado, I bid you adieu.
All right.